Hi, this is Jeff Blauette, Technical Agronomist for Cooperative Farmers Elevator. And on this week's Field Friday segment, I thought I'd talk about one of the questions that's pretty common right now, and it's should we be spraying corn and when should we get started? We're getting that a lot. I guess we're just getting started now. Today the wind isn't as bad as yesterday, although it's still breezy out here. But a lot of this early planted corn is kind of getting to that V3, maybe even edging up on that V4 growth stage on the corn. That's a good time to start for that. It's a good time with the foliar micronutrients and those types of things in the tank as well. The other thing that we've got going on this year that's maybe a little different, we've got some fields that have the fertilizer and herbicide put on, worked, planted, and then had a little bit of a time lapse in there before we got a rain, maybe 10 days before we got any moisture to activate that herbicide. And we've got some examples here of what that might be looking like. But we did have some weeds probably coming through the pre-plants, maybe a little bit more than normal, but maybe they're activated now since the rain, but we've also got another flush, so let's take a look at that. You can see some of these have been coming for a little while. Probably snuck through the pre-plant, but you can also see there's a lot more little ones that are just coming now since we've had these rains. We've got a few of the larger water hemp that are a couple inches tall that probably did come before that moisture activating rain, but we do have in some fields there is another flush that's coming now. It's just half an inch tall maybe, but it's really coming now since we've gotten another soil settling rain. And kind of got another flush coming. Those are really going to go to town next week. With the weather forecast we're in the mid 80s for next week on several days. We're going to have some warm nights. I think everything, the corn, the weeds, everything is going to really progress rather rapidly here. So it's just going to be time to get going. The good thing is we're on the early side yet. If we can get out and spray some of the fields and then get a day where maybe get a pop-up shower or get a little bit of wind that's too much or in the wrong direction, we can wait and let that fix itself the next day. We're early enough on a lot of this stuff where if we got to wait a day or two, no big deal. We're not forced to spray because it's getting to be a lot of green out there. So good thing is if we can stay on the early side, if we can pound out a bunch of corn acres next week, that'll allow us to come through and get on these soybean acres a little earlier than we have. Corn, it's a little easier to manage the water hemp, but in the soybeans, we've got a little bit more of a challenge there, and if we can get on there timely, we talk about that all the time, it's better off if we can get that herbicide on really small, maybe inch or smaller water hemp, or even before it comes up. It's a lot easier to control water hemp, especially in soybeans, if we can do it with overlapping residuals and try and keep them from even emerging. So I guess that's kind of the answer to the overriding question right now. Yeah, we should probably be looking at getting going. Make sure you have all your items on hand so when you get decent weather days you can go and pick and choose. So I guess that's what we wanted to cover, give you a little bit of a feel for what we're thinking. So with that, that's this week's Field Friday segment, and we'll see you next week.